In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at assignment 4.3, where we are adding signed numbers. Now, a note about this, your numbers will look different. WAMAP randomizes the numbers for everybody, so the ones you get and the order you get problems in will look a little bit different. And the other thing I'm going to note here is you'll notice in these problems here where we're adding a negative, that some of them have parentheses around the negative. What is that parentheses doing? Nothing. All it's doing is clarifying. It is not changing what it equals. All it's doing is trying to make that a little bit easier to read. Because if instead we had written that as 6 plus negative 6 like that, this little combo right here can often be a little bit confusing to look at. And so by putting parentheses around it, we just clarify what it means a little bit and try to make it a little bit easier to read. So that's all the parentheses are doing for you. All right, in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at how to do this sort of addition with negatives using a number line. A number line is a nice tried and true method for being able to deal with adding negatives, and it really is a great visualization tool. And the first thing you do when setting up your number line is you just draw the line and put 0 right in the middle, because you want to have room to work on both sides. And throw some hash marks in there to show where your numbers are. This is not graphing where we're going to need our graph to be super precise and our distances to all be equal. So if you just freehand this, that's going to be okay, because really it's just a way for you to visualize how far you're going in each direction. And I'm going to go ahead and label some numbers on there just so I don't have to count them over every single time. And so with that, I got a nice number line that I'm going to be able to use and reuse as I go through these. All right, so when using a number line, your first number is always where you're going to start at. So in this first problem up here, we have negative 6 plus 6. So that means I'm going to be starting at negative 6. So I'm going to go down to negative 6, and I'm going to start right there. Just put a little dot there. And then the plus 6, it's a positive 6. Positive means to go to the right here. And so it tells me I'm going to have to go to the right by 6 units. Now, a great way to actually do that, especially when you're first really getting the hang of these, is to go ahead and count out 6 different places. So there I counted over 6 times, and that told me that I ended right there. That number that I end at is my answer, because it told me I started down at negative 6 and then I went up 6 from there. And it happens that I ended here at 0. And so my answer here is 0. For the next one, I have 6 plus negative 6. Which means my first number is 6, so I'm going to put a dot up here at 6, and then plus a negative 6. You notice that saying I need to go in the negative direction 6 units. So I'm going to start at 6, and I'm going to count over to the left, which is the negative direction, 6 units. And again, this one also happens to drop us off right at 0. And so that would be my answer there, is 0. Right, next one, we have negative 6 plus negative 6. And if we're going to do negative 6 plus negative 6, that means I need to start down at negative 6. So remember, that first number is always where we start. And then it's plus negative 6, which means go down 6 from there. And so I'm going to count 6 over to the left. Well, it doesn't look like I made my number line big enough, right? And yet I could still see where that's going to end up. You notice that if I go down 2 more past that negative 10, I'm going to end up over here at negative 12. And so then that's at negative 12. And if you need to make your number line a little bit bigger to make sure you can accommodate these, by all means, do so. All right, and the last one, 6 plus 6, you probably don't need a number line for this one, right? But just to make sure that we see how it works, you can see that we would start up at 6, and then we would add 6 more going up to the right. And yes, that would then drop us off up at 12. And so that's how we're doing these. Being able to do negatives like this actually lays a foundational understanding that is super important. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to do that. It seems too hard. And then they kind of guess at it, or they kind of get, well, I think it's this. And I don't want you guessing at these. Being able to do these reliably every single time is actually a huge deal. So definitely make sure that you're doing these right every single time. Get a great feel for how to add these negative numbers. And so heading into this next problem, we really can go ahead and approach it the exact same way. Again, you want to start by setting up a number line for yourself. Hopefully you can just use the same one that you had last time. So now that I have a quick number line drawn up again, for this first problem, I need to do -8 plus 10. In order to do -8 plus 10, that means I need to start at -8. So I go ahead and put my first point there at -8 and plus 10. Notice it's plus a positive, which means I am going to be going to the right 10 units. It's just a matter of counting out those 10 units. And so let's go ahead and start there and count over, and we're going to go ahead and count over all 10. Yes, it can seem like it's a bit of a long thing to do that, but trust me, the more you do that, the quicker you actually get to where pretty soon you won't need it. So definitely keep doing this. All right, and so notice where that drops us off. When I counted over 10 spaces, it dropped me off here at 2. And so then that is my final answer, is -8 plus 10 is 2. All of the rest of these follow the exact same patterns. And so you can draw these out as a way to check them. But for this next one, 8 plus 10, for doing 8 plus 10, yeah, you probably don't need the number line for it, right? But basically on the number line, you're starting up at 8, and then you are going to the right 10 from there. Even just knowing that will usually let you get to the right answer. And so then that gives us the 18. The next one after that is going to be -8 plus -10. And so that means start down at -8, but then in this case, since we're adding a -10, you're going to go to the left 10 from there. And so then that's going to give us a -18 by the time we count it all out. And then for the last one here, we're doing 8. So I start up at a +8 plus a -10. So -10 means go down 10 from 8. And if you count it out, you will find that that drops us off then at -2. Practice using the number line here. I also did a video with the chips as another way to look at doing these types of problems. Go with whichever way makes the most sense to you, because it's not about having to use one tool or the other, but rather to have a tool that consistently works for you.